Hey guys. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Samsung stage. I'm your host Cam Robinson and I'm joined by Dave. Dave or David? What do you prefer?
Dave.
Dave.
Yeah,
Dave, we're old friends now. We go way back. And Dave, we're going to talk about Evil Within. But before we do that, how's your E3 going? How are you doing?
Oh, really well. Yeah, having a great time. We got hands-on over at the booth, so I'm getting to watch a bunch of people be scared out of their minds, which is always exciting.
Anyone like shrieked really audibly?
We've had some shrieks, yeah.
Anyone in tears?
No tears yet. Had a bit of tomfoolery. No tears yet. Yeah.
I've not been to the booth yet, so maybe. Actually, we should get Chris Waters, one of the other GameSpot hosts. He's terrible with horror games.
Oh yeah.
So we should definitely try and send him over.
Awesome. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. So let's actually talk about the game and what the build you're showing off here at E3. So I think we've got some gameplay to show as well. So we'll throw that up on screen for you guys at home. But just talk me through what's new. What are you showing off?
So we're showing off two sections of the game. One of them is pretty far through Chapter 8, and one of them is from Chapter 4. One of them is more puzzle-based, showing how you have to unravel the level to sort of progress and find out the backstory of what's actually happening to you. Okay. And one of them is focused a little bit more on pure horror. But what we're seeing on screen right now...
Why did he sit in that chair?
Yeah, so that's a
terrible idea.
That's the upgrade chair there.
Oh
so you're getting a little look at how the character upgrades throughout the game.
Pretty gruesome. Yeah,
so you collect this this stuff called green gel, and then you get to put it towards your attributes, like your stamina, your ability to run away.
That just get injected into your head.
Yeah, yeah. So even the upgrading is a painful process.
Yeah.
But this area that you're in right now, where the upgrades are located and where you're able to save your game, is this asylum. Where the game starts, but you're not really sure whether or not this asylum is the real world or if the levels that you sort of transition into is the real world. So you can see here Sebastian Castellanos, who's the detective, the main character of the game, is now walking towards a mirror at the far end of this asylum, and when he gets closer, he'll sort of lose consciousness and transition into the level proper. Yeah, and you never really know whether or not he's going into reality or whether he was in reality. So it's part of the psychological horror.
Do you guys play with that kind of what's real, what's not all the way through the game?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of these levels will shift and change around you. It's meant to keep you on your toes. You don't really know what's happening or why, and you're trying to unravel how you got into this situation. So this level, what we're watching right now, is a mansion level, and this plays into the backstory of the game. You're trying to find out who this nemesis is in the game called Ruvik, who's been pursuing you throughout the entire experience. So you originally go into the mansion following two characters who are in a horrific car crash with you. You're just trying to catch up to them, and now you're locked into this moment from Ruvik's past, and you're trying to find out what his motivations are for putting you into this terrible situation.
Cruelest intentions. Very good.
Yeah. So people are able to play this at the show. And the other section, like I said, a little bit more pure survival horror where there's a little bit more combat. So what you're going to see here is Sebastian's able to sneak. So stealth is actually really important in this game. It allows you to conserve ammo. And anybody who's played a game created by Mikami-san before knows that the push and pull of resources is really important, especially in survival horror. So any way that you can conserve every bullet, you're going to want to try to do that. So sneaking went wrong there. Yeah.
So who are these guys? Can we talk about what these guys are?
Yeah. So these are called the Haunted. They're definitely not alive. They are undead. And ammo doesn't really always work with them too well. So a number of bullets might not take them down. You'll have to find other ways. Like, for example, right here. There's a proximity mine on the wall there, and what we did is waited for one of the Haunted to walk towards it and then set it off at the last moment to take him out.
Yeah, that made pretty quick work of him. That's good.
Made good work of him. So the push and pull of resources plays into a lot of parts of this game, but what you're seeing right now is the character Ruvik, this main nemesis in the game, will appear throughout this level and pursue you. There's absolutely no way for you to harm this character. So your best bet now is just to run, and if he catches up to you, you're a goner.
Oh, really? Yeah. Game over if he gets you.
It's game over if he gets towards you, and even if you turn around and fire at him, we're showing it here for a little bit for dramatic effect, but if you shoot at him, he'll then teleport closer to you if you land a hit, and you'll die even faster. So there's many moments in this game where your only option is to turn tail and try to escape.
Oh man, and he can. He's not constrained by normal physics, so he's allowed to just appear.
No, not at all. You get that classic horror movie vibe where there's this unstoppable force coming at you, and there's nothing you can do but try to escape.
Yeah.
So you can see what happened there is, you have to run away from him, but he pushed us right into another confrontation.
That guy has like a spear in his face or something. That can't be good. That can't be good.
So right there, there's an example of lighting the enemies on fire.
Oh, right, okay.
So you may not take a guy out with bullets. You do have another option, which are matches. Matches are a limited resource as well. So you can use those to conserve ammo. And something else that's pretty interesting is the health packs. The full health packs that give you the most amount of health back to your character also have this effect that severely distort your field of view. And you can see why that might be a problem right here.
Oh, wow. So yeah, nothing is really nothing's really for free in this game, is it?
Nothing's for free, nothing's safe, and you really have to think through how you're going to approach each section, because all of the health that he got back, he then lost because he was attacked during that loss of field of view.
So you were saying, you mentioned you've had a few people at your booth, yelping and screeching their way through this demo. So what's your approach to your kind of ethos to creating horror and the evil within? Because like there's a bunch, horror genre is growing. There's been some great examples of horror games that have, famously really hit home with people. Like Slender was, really popular. And,
yeah.
And but then like what's, some people go for jump scares, some people go for other stuff. Like what's like this? Like
so that
wow.
section is great. What you're trying to do there in a very short amount of time is hit that top light to stop being pulled toward the grinder, so you have a very limited amount of time to get yourself out of that trap. But I think really the ethos behind the Evil Within is, if you've ever played a game from Mikami-san, you know that it's really all about balance. It's all about management of resources and this building tension. So I think the game is sort of best described by the scenario where you go into an area, you have 3 enemies and 2 bullets, and now you need to figure out how you're going to get through. And there are a lot of options open to you, but they're all based around this overbearing tension of how do you solve that problem. And once you get past that section, what's going to be just around the corner? So you may go forage for more resources to tackle that issue, but in looking for those resources, you're going to encounter something just as awful. So you have this tension building throughout the game as you're trying to advance and solve this puzzle and solve the mystery of why you're in this situation, what happened to you.
So you're trying to kind of constantly add to that sense of foreboding,
exactly,
of this building dread.
Yeah,
so that's quite interesting, because I do. Some people some of you guys who are watching might know I do a show for GameSpot all about science of video games. I did a show, I was telling you earlier, about like how you create horror in terms of science and what people actually respond better to. Jump scares can give you that quick kind of thrill, but it is that like building sense that is more terrifying. Like knowing that you're about to get minced by something is actually far more terrifying. Or if you walk along the corridor and you see blood, and then you see more and more little parts hinting at that doom that's just coming out. Like, that is far more terrifying, generally, for most people.
And I think that's a really good way to describe this game. I mean, there are those punchy jump scares, throughout this experience. But
they have a use, yeah.
But what it's really about is this building tension throughout the entire experience, where the more you learn, the more you know that danger is around every corner, and you have a set of options to how you're going to approach that danger, but none of them are going to be safe. All of them are going to be difficult, and all of them are going to be terrifying. So, yeah.
So what made you guys decide, when you were like, okay, we want to make a horror game, what made you go third person, like as opposed to first person?
That was completely up to Mikami-san, and I think he has a great history with that type of game. And for him, this was really a return to form, an opportunity to go back to the genre that he really founded. He's like, the grandfather of survival horror, and this is sort of his ultimate vision of survival horror.
Fantastic, fantastic. So when can we expect to see more? More of the Evil Within.
Yeah, so after E3, we're just going to keep showing off the game until it's released on October 21st. You will see a little bit more coming up pretty soon, but I invite everybody to stay tuned. We got some more stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. And if you are at E3, you can check it out. You can have hands-on with the game.
We have hands-on at the booth this E3, which is really great. It's really exciting to see people finally play the game. It's really the only real way to experience survival horror. You got to get your hands on it. The tension that I was describing is only conveyed through experiencing it in the game, knowing that you have these limited resources, knowing that you could be taken out at any time. You have to play it to really get it.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely with survival horror, you're right. It's really you experiencing it. Yeah. It's really the only way, because it is about whether or not it grips you and whether or not it scares you, basically. And speaking of that, actually, have you got to see any of the other kind of horror games on the show? I was hearing really good things about the the kind of Oculus-enabled demo of Alien Isolation? Have you seen that yet?
I basically was only allowed to leave my booth for this interview,
wow.
so thank you very much.
You're welcome. You got it. Run.
I have been playing The Evil Within straight through, so afterwards I'll get a chance to take a look at everything at E3, but until then, yeah.
Until then, you're going to be tied to the booth.
No sunlight for me.
Yeah. Fantastic, fantastic. Well, man, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Now, if anyone at home actually has a question for David, the best way to ask him would be right now to give me a tweet in the next minute to @CamFrazRob. I will pull up on this and I will ask David directly. But just tell me a bit more about. I'm really interested in that upgrade.
Yeah.
You showed us earlier, because we only saw it briefly, and I know that's new, right? That's a new thing you've shown off. So what other type of things what kind of abilities can you upgrade to kind of shape your character as you go?
Well, I think one of the more important ones, I mean, you can upgrade a lot of abilities, weapon accuracy, individual to each weapon. Your Agony crossbow, which is sort of like your weapon of last resort. That's actually an interesting one to talk about because in the game there are these traps like proximity mines or tripwires, and they result in horrific death, but if you're careful, if you sneak towards these and you're really aware of them, you can then disassemble the traps and take the parts. Then once you have those parts, you can turn them into crossbow bolts, which are very rare in the world and definitely your most powerful weapon.
Okay.
And also a weapon of distraction. There's one that blinds enemies so that you can stagger them or maybe just run away. So then you're able to upgrade the crossbow bolts and the crossbow itself. All of these weapons, what they do is they give you a better chance at survival. None of them are sure thing. None of them are overpowered to the point where you feel like you can take on anything in this world. And like I said before, there's a lot of enemies in The Evil Within that you cannot beat. You have to turn tail and run from, which is part of that tension. You have to feel like you're in danger, and that's the goal of this game. You are definitely in danger. At the demo today, we have a couple of encounters where if you try to stand your ground, you're just not going to make it.
We've actually got a couple of good questions coming through from Twitter at the moment, so let's go to that. So we have Georgina Perez says, how long did it take to come up with the designs for the monsters in The Evil Within?
Oh, that's a great question for one of our concept artists. I'd have to speak to her directly to get the answer for that, but the designs, the art for these monsters are terrifying.
And where does that inspiration come from? I hope it's not like things they've imagined, because that's pretty messed up.
Yes, Nakamura-san is a brilliant artist, and that's a great question that I don't really feel comfortable speaking for her about, but I would love to show off some of the original character art and some of the concept art, and we have that. We're going to be showing it off as well to our community, but all of it's amazing.
Fantastic. All right, we also got another question from Sam Wood, and Sam asks, will there be a currency in the game?
What's that?
Will there be a currency in the game? I guess, does he mean in terms of upgrades? Is that that green gel you were talking about?
So that's the green gel I was talking about. Where you get this gel is sometimes after you kill an enemy, it's left behind when their bodies dissolve. And also you can find it in these large mason jars when exploring. So that's the closest thing to currency. And what you do is you then accumulate that and then take it to the upgrade room and use it to spend on something like stamina or a little bit of increased health.
Cool. All right, I'm just going to keep throwing these at you. We've got some great questions, that's all right. So we've got Alex now who's saying, hey, @CamFrazRob, does The Evil Within take inspiration from older movies similar to Donnie Darko? That's what he asked.
I think you see a little bit of horror from a lot of sources. It sort of runs the gambit of really great classic horror movies, and I think you can get that feel a little bit when you see the design of it. You get this very classic horror vibe just from sort of the lighting and the setting of the game. I've definitely had that experience playing it myself, where I feel like I'm back. I'm like reliving some of my favorite classic horror experiences.
Fantastic. Well, Dave, I'm going to call you Dave again. It's been a pleasure having you on stage.
Yeah,
so we've got time for the moment, but thanks for bringing along that demo of Evil Within. It's been great to see it. It's great to have it here at E3.
Awesome.
Have some good horror. So yeah, go off and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.
But you guys watching at home, do not go anywhere. I keep saying that. It's the corny line, but it's true, because we've got loads more games. I think we've still got another, what time is it? I don't even know what time it is. It's almost 3 o'clock. We've still got like 2 more hours or something crazy on this stage, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few minutes with yet another demo.